When did a friendship twist into the deepest betrayal? I never thought my life would unravel because of one person. Not my parents, not a lover, not even an enemy. It was my best friend. Mara and I had been inseparable since we were 12. She had this wild energy that pulled me into adventures I never have had the courage to try alone. Sneaking onto rooftops just to watch the stars. Hopping fences into orchards to steal apples. Running barefoot through summer rain. When we laughed, it felt like the world bent around us, like nothing bad could touch us. People used to call us sisters even though we didn't share blood. We made promises under blankets with flashlights. Promises that no matter what, we'd always have each other's backs. I believed those words like scripture. When we hit college, things shifted. Life wasn't about stolen apples and starlight anymore. There were bills, expectations, jobs that drained the soul. I picked accounting. Something safe and steady. Mara studied psychology, though she joked she was really studying people, collecting their secrets for fun. She had that way of looking at you, like she could read everything you didn't say out loud. It was around then that I noticed how much she liked being the center of attention. She could walk into a room and every conversation bent toward her. She thrived on it. And I didn't mind. I was the quieter one, the observer. It worked. Or it did, till Daniel. Daniel was the kind of guy who seemed born out of one of Mara's daydreams. Tall, disarmingly charming. The kind of easy smile that made strangers trust him too quickly. Mara introduced us at a campus cafe. She called him her study partner. Nothing serious. But her eyes sparkled in a way that told me she wanted more. Except Daniel looked at me. Not with politeness. Not with casual interest. With intent. At first, I ignored it. Mara always had a trail of admirers, and I wasn't about to become another shadow in her orbit. But Daniel didn't let it go. He found excuses to sit beside me, asked questions that felt too personal, lingered in ways that left my chest tight with guilt. I told myself I'd never betray her. I repeated it like a mantra. But Mara, she changed. She started disappearing for nights without explanation, leaving me waiting in our shared apartment. She'd come back smelling of liquor and perfume that wasn't hers, brushing it off with laughter. When I asked about Daniel, she said he was sweet, but boring, and that I deserved someone better than the ghosts I'd been chasing since high school. One night, Mara stumbled into the apartment with her lipstick smudge, laughing at some private joke. I asked her where she'd been. Her eyes sharpened in a way that made me uneasy. With someone who actually matters, she said, then flopped onto her bed, ignoring me. That sentence lodged in my chest like a splinter. Weeks passed. Daniel kept showing up. Mara kept vanishing. And one evening, when I left the library, he was waiting outside under the amber glow of a street lamp. "You deserve better than being her shadow," he said softly. His voice was too careful, too rehearsed. I should have walked away. I should have remembered those flashlight promises. Remembered the girl who once swore we were unbreakable. Instead, I let him walk me home. It started with stolen moments. A lingering brush of hands. Whispers in corners. The kind of secrets that burn the throat when you try to swallow them down. And with every step closer to him, I felt further from Mara. But here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't start with fireworks. It starts with tiny cracks. Small lies. Glances that last a second too long. By the time you realize the ground has shifted, the foundation is already crumbling. One night, Mara came home earlier than expected. Daniel was there. My hair was still damp from his hands. Her face froze when she saw us, and in that silence, I swear I heard the sound of something snapping inside her. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just smiled. A smile that chilled me to my bones. "Interesting," she said, and then walked straight to her room, shutting the door with terrifying calm. From that moment, everything spiraled, because Mara wasn't the type to confront you with anger. She was the type to wait, to watch. To dig her nails under the skin until you forgot where you ended and she began. The next morning, my boss at the internship pulled me aside about inconsistencies in my reports. My laptop had been tampered with. Files altered. Deadlines missed that I knew I had met. Later that week, whispers started on campus. About me cheating on exams. About me sleeping with professors. About me stealing from Mara. Stories that spread like wildfire, and every single one traced back to her. Daniel stopped answering my texts. Mara was always with him, laughing louder, touching him more boldly, daring me to react. The girl who once swore she'd protect me at all costs had become the person dismantling my life, piece by piece. And the worst part, she knew exactly where to cut deepest. Because who can wound you more than the one who once swore to never hurt you? I thought the betrayal was sleeping with Daniel. I was wrong. That was just the opening act. The real betrayal hadn't even begun. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mara's smile from that night. The kind that told me she wasn't just hurt, she was planning. Daniel vanished from my life completely. No texts, no calls. No explanations. But I'd see them together. Her arm looped through his. Her head resting on his shoulder, as they walked across campus like some perfect couple. The same man who once told me I was different, who held my hand in the dark, now looking at me like I'd never existed. The betrayal was sharp, but what followed was worse. Mara started rewriting my story. It began with small whispers among mutual friends. That I was unstable. That I'd been obsessed with Daniel, throwing myself at him even though he never wanted me. That I'd threatened to hurt myself when he rejected me. At first, I laughed it off. They'll see through it, I told myself. We'd known these people for years. They'd believe me, but Mara was clever. She didn't tell outright lies, she planted seeds. Half-truths, twists of reality that made me look like the villain of my own story. Like the time she accidentally left her journal open on her desk, full of entries about how worried she was for me. How I couldn't handle rejection. How she feared what I might do to myself. Or when she told our friends in a hushed voice that she was really concerned about my drinking. When in reality, she was the one dragging me to bars and shoving shots into my hand. People started looking at me differently. Not like a friend. Like a problem. I tried to confront her once, late at night, when it was just us in the apartment. Why are you doing this? I whispered, my voice shaking more than I wanted. She didn't look up from painting her nails. The smell of acetone hung thick in the air. You betrayed me first, she said simply. I made a mistake, I admitted, the words tasting like ash. But this isn't about Daniel anymore. This is about destroying me. Finally, she met my eyes. Her smile was soft, almost tender. I told you once, she murmured, that if anyone hurt me, I'd make sure they regretted it. Did you think you'd be the exception? There was no anger in her tone. Just certainty. And that terrified me more than shouting ever could. The next blow came fast. I walked into class one morning and everyone's heads turned. Phones out. Whispers. My stomach dropped before I even saw it. A photo of me half-dressed, sitting on the edge of my bed. Head thrown back in laughter. It wasn't explicit, but it was intimate. Private. Taken without my knowledge. The caption on the anonymous account read, "She sends these to all the guys. Don't trust her." My hands shook as I scrolled through the comments. Disgust. Mockery. Boys I'd barely spoken to making crude jokes about me. And Mara? She sat in the corner of the room, her phone in hand, eyes on me. She didn't need to say a word. I knew it was her. I confronted Daniel after class, desperate for answers. You knew about this? I demanded. He looked uncomfortable, shifting on his feet. Mara told me you'd been doing stuff like that for a while. Sending photos to guys. I didn't want to believe it, but what? I snapped. He rubbed the back of his neck, avoiding my eyes. She showed me texts. From your number. My blood ran cold. I hadn't sent those. But I didn't need to see them to know what they looked like. Mara had always been good at imitating my style, my way of typing. She must have gotten into my phone somehow. Daniel, I whispered. It wasn't me. You know it wasn't me. For a split second, I thought I saw doubt in his eyes. But then he shook his head, hardening his expression. I don't know what to believe anymore, he said before walking away. And just like that, I lost him all over again. The walls closed in. Professors pulled me aside about my behavior. Friends stopped inviting me out. My internship called to say they were re-evaluating my position. Everywhere I turned, Mara's shadow loomed. I started keeping track like a detective in my own downfall. Dates, times, little notes about when Mara was gone, when rumors spread, when my things went missing or appeared altered. I filled pages with details, hoping to find proof. But proof doesn't matter when the world already believes the lie. The final straw came one night when my mother called, her voice tight with worry. Sweetheart, are you okay? Mara reached out. She said you've been struggling, that you've been acting erratically, drinking too much, getting involved with older men. My throat closed. She told you that? She's worried about you, my mom said. She says you won't let her help. I almost laughed. Mara wasn't just dismantling me in school. She was rewriting me for my own family. That night, I sat on the floor of my room, knees pulled to my chest, listening to Mara hum softly through the wall. Like everything was normal. Like she hadn't just set fire to my entire life. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about survival. Because Mara wasn't going to stop until I had nothing left. I started locking my door at night. Not because I thought Mara would hurt me physically, at least not yet. But because the line between what was mine and what was hers had blurred beyond recognition. My phone, my laptop, my clothes, even my words. She was in all of it, twisting, reshaping, rebranding me into someone unrecognizable. I could feel her through the walls sometimes. Not literally, of course, but the way her presence pressed in, her laughter seeping under the door, that low hum she always did when she was painting her nails. Like she wanted me to know she was there, watching, waiting. I wasn't crazy. That's what I kept telling myself, but she was trying to make me look that way. And she was good at it. The first time I caught her in the act was almost by accident. I came home from class earlier than expected. The apartment was quiet, lights off, but her door was cracked open. I should have gone straight to my room, but something made me pause. Inside, she was on my laptop. Not hers. Mine. The glow of the screen lit her face, and I recognized the document open instantly. My internship reports. She was altering them, slipping in small errors, changing words that shifted the meaning. Enough to make me look sloppy, unreliable. She didn't hear me until I stepped into the room. What the hell are you doing? My voice cracked like glass. She looked up slowly, completely unbothered, her eyes cool as stone. Then she smiled, closed the laptop with deliberate calm, and pushed it across the desk toward me. You should really lock your stuff, she said lightly. You're sabotaging me. My pulse was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Or maybe, she tilted her head, I'm protecting you. Think about it, if you fail now, it'll sting less than failing later. Better to realize you're not cut out for this before you make a real mess. Mara, you're destroying me. Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Amusement? Satisfaction? Destroying you? She echoed. No, I'm just showing people who you really are. You think I'm rewriting your life, but I'm not. I'm just peeling back the mask. You should thank me. I wanted to scream, to shove her, to do something. But I froze, because she looked at me the way she used to look at insects when we were kids, curious, detached, ready to pull the wings off just to see how long it would twitch. That night, I backed up everything. My files, my notes, my photos. I bought a burner phone and started documenting every single thing she did. If I couldn't stop her, maybe I could prove it. But Mara was always 2 steps ahead. One morning, I woke to dozens of unread messages, screenshots, posts, a group chat I didn't even know existed full of classmates, acquaintances, even people I barely recognized, all laughing at screenshots of messages I had supposedly sent to Daniel. Pathetic, obsessive texts, begging him to take me back, threatening to hurt myself if he didn't. Explicit photos attached. My stomach turned. None of them were mine. But the timestamps, the phrasing, even the way my signature emoji was used, it was perfect. Flawless forgery. And Mara had made sure everyone saw it. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. She just sat at the kitchen table, calmly eating cereal, as if this was all normal. You can't beat me at this game, she said softly, without looking up. This isn't a game, I hissed. Finally, she looked at me, her smile slow, deliberate, terrifying. Then why does it feel like I'm winning? That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I left the apartment, walked for hours through the city streets, the neon signs blurring into streaks of color. I thought about disappearing, just packing a bag, leaving my phone, my laptop, everything behind, and vanishing into someplace new where Mara couldn't follow. But I couldn't, because she wasn't just dismantling me in college. She'd gotten to my family, to my professors, to my job. She was weaving her version of me everywhere I turned. Running wouldn't fix it. I needed to fight back. I started small, hiding a camera in my room, recording her when she crept in to move my things, rifling through my drawers, hovering over my laptop. At first, it was proof. But the more I watched those clips, the more I noticed something else. She wasn't just sabotaging me. She was studying me. The way she lingered on my notebooks, how she'd flip through my journals, reading every page carefully before putting them back in the exact same place. The way she'd scroll through my playlists like she was trying to memorize them. It wasn't enough for her to ruin me. She wanted to become me. One evening, I walked into the apartment and froze. She was in front of the mirror, wearing my clothes, my sweater, my earrings, even my shoes. She was practicing my voice, repeating phrases I'd written in my journal. When she saw me, she didn't flinch, didn't apologize. She just looked at me with that same chilling smile. I told you, she said quietly, we're the same. I'm just better at being you than you are. For the first time, I realized this wasn't about Daniel anymore. It wasn't about betrayal or revenge. It was about erasure. And if I didn't stop her soon, there wouldn't be anything left of me to save. After that night in front of the mirror, I stopped thinking of Mara as my best friend. She wasn't Mara anymore. She was something else. Something darker. I kept my distance, but it was impossible to live with her and not breathe the same poisoned air. Every morning I'd wake to the sound of her kettle whistling, the scent of her coffee drifting into my room like nothing was wrong. She hummed. She laughed on the phone. She lived life as if she hadn't already hollowed me out. I recorded everything. Every word, every movement, every invasion. My burner phone became a vault of stolen moments, her in my room. Her reading my messages. Her practicing my voice. But evidence doesn't feel like power when you're living inside the fire. It just feels like kindling. The first person I showed it to was Leah, a girl from one of my classes who'd stopped talking to me after the rumors spread. We used to study together late into the night. I thought maybe if she saw the truth, She'd understand. I invited her over under the pretense of catching up. We sat on the edge of my bed, awkward silence stretching between us. Finally, I pulled out the phone and hit play. On the screen, Mara was sitting at my desk, reading my journal in a whisper, repeating the lines like she was rehearsing them. Leah frowned. "That's weird. Do you see?" My voice shook with desperation. "She's been doing this for months. She's trying to become me. She's behind everything." Leah watched for a while longer, then handed the phone back gently. "I don't know. Maybe you're overthinking it. Maybe she's just, I don't know, messing around." I stared at her, heart sinking. "She's ruining my life," I said quietly. "Does that look like a joke to you?" Leah hesitated. Then her eyes softened in that pitying way people look at someone they don't believe. "Maybe you should talk to someone. A counselor, maybe. You've been under a lot of stress." I wanted to scream, to shake her until she understood. Instead, I just nodded. And when she left, I deleted her number. Mara had won again. Weeks blurred into months. My internship dropped me. Professors avoided eye contact. My mother left voicemails about seeking treatment and trusting Mara to support me. And Daniel, I saw him once, crossing campus. He was holding Mara's hand. When our eyes met, he looked away like I was a stranger. That night, Mara knocked on my door. I didn't answer, but her voice slipped through the crack anyway. "Daniel's happier now. You should be too. Don't you see? Without me, you'd have nothing. I keep you alive. You'd disappear without me." I pressed my hands to my ears until the words blurred into static. It all might have broken me completely, if not for the folder I found. It was hidden on our shared desktop computer, buried under layers of fake assignments. A folder labeled with my name. Inside were hundreds of files, screenshots, altered documents, fake conversations, photos of me sleeping, audio clips of my voice, cut and rearranged to form sentences I never said. It wasn't just sabotage. It was construction. She was building a new version of me, one that she controlled entirely. And she had everything she needed to finish it. I sat there for hours, scrolling through the nightmares she'd created. My stomach twisting tighter with every file. My face, my voice, my words, twisted until they weren't mine anymore. That was when I knew. This wasn't about Daniel. It wasn't about revenge. This was about ownership. Mara didn't just want to ruin me. She wanted to replace me. I copied the folder to my burner phone, hands shaking. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of control. Proof that even Mara couldn't deny. But when I came back to my room that night, the folder was gone. Deleted. And my burner phone smashed to pieces on the floor. I froze. The window was cracked open, the night air seeping in. She'd been in here. While I was gone, she'd come in, taken back control. Then I noticed something else. My journal was missing. I ran to her room, threw the door open, and there she was, sitting on her bed, calmly writing in my journal with her legs crossed, as if it belonged to her. "Looking for this?" she asked softly, not even glancing up. I lunged, but she snapped the book shut, holding it to her chest. "You really should be more careful," she said, her smile slow and poisonous. "People might start to think you're losing it." Her eyes flicked to the shattered pieces of my phone in my hand. And that was when I realized she wasn't afraid of me having proof. She wasn't afraid at all, because in her mind she'd already won. And maybe she had. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor of my room with the broken pieces of my phone spread out in front of me like a crime scene. My pulse thudded in my ears, every creak of the apartment making me flinch. Mara had erased my proof. She'd stolen my voice, my words, my image. And the terrifying part wasn't that she could. It was how easy it had been for her. The next morning, she made pancakes. The smell of butter and syrup drifted through the apartment like nothing had happened. She hummed while flipping them, the same cheerful hum that used to calm me when we were kids. Now it made my stomach twist. "Want some?" she asked when I walked into the kitchen. Her tone was light, her eyes bright, like the night before had never happened. I shook my head. My throat was too tight to speak. She shrugged, sliding a pancake onto her plate. "Suit yourself." I remember standing there, watching her pour syrup, and feeling like I was living with a stranger wearing my best friend's skin. That was when I made the decision. I couldn't survive this by myself. I went to the counseling center on campus. For weeks, I'd avoided it, afraid it would only feed her story that I was unstable. But at that point, what did I have left to lose? The counselor's office was warm, lined with plants and soft chairs. I sat down, hands twisting in my lap, and for the first time, I said it out loud. "My best friend is trying to replace me." The counselor tilted her head gently, her expression calm, patient. "Can you tell me what you mean by that?" So I told her everything. The rumors, the sabotage, the files, the way Mara practiced being me. She listened carefully, nodding occasionally, jotting down notes. When I finished, I expected her to say I was paranoid, that I was imagining it. Instead, she said, "That sounds incredibly difficult and frightening." The relief that washed over me made my eyes burn. Finally, someone who didn't dismiss me outright. We talked about boundaries, about documenting everything again, this time in ways she couldn't erase, about reaching out to professors directly, in person, without giving Mara a chance to intercept. It felt like a lifeline. But when I returned to the apartment, Mara was waiting. She was sitting on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling. When she looked up, her smile was razor-sharp. "How was counseling?" she asked. I froze. "How do you?" She held up her phone. "Leah told me. She's worried about you." My chest tightened. Leah. The one person I'd tried to trust. Of course, Mara had her wrapped around her finger. Mara patted the couch beside her. "You should be careful who you talk to. People might think you're unstable." I backed away instead. Her eyes followed me all the way to my room. That night, I didn't lock my door. I barricaded it. Over the next few weeks, I tried to follow the counselor's advice. I recorded new evidence, stored it in cloud accounts Mara didn't know existed, met with professors face-to-face to explain that someone was tampering with my work. A few gave me the benefit of the doubt. Most didn't. But I kept trying. Then one day I came home to find my room completely empty. Every drawer pulled out. Clothes strewn across the floor. My mattress flipped. And in the center of the mess, taped to the wall, was a single Polaroid photo. Me, sleeping. The camera angle was from above, like someone had stood over me, hovering in the dark. My knees nearly gave out. I tore it down, my hands shaking, my breath shallow. Mara wasn't just erasing me anymore. She was reminding me that I was never safe. Not even in my sleep. I confronted her, Polaroid clutched in my fist. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. She glanced at it, then shrugged. "Memories." Of what? Stalking me? Violating me? Her smile didn't falter. Of us, of how close we are. "You should be grateful I care enough to keep them." I felt sick. "Stay out of my room," I spat. She tilted her head, her voice soft, almost affectionate. "Why would I?" "It's mine too." The way she said it made my skin crawl. That night, I packed a bag. Just a few clothes, my journals, and my new phone. I left while she was sleeping, slipping into the cold night air with my heart hammering. I thought I was finally free. But when I checked into a cheap motel across town, I opened my bag to grab my journal only to find it wasn't mine. It was hers. And inside, written in her looping handwriting, were pages of my life. My memories. My secrets. My thoughts. word for word, as if she'd carved them out of me. And on the last page, in big, bold letters, she'd written, "You can run. You'll never outrun me. I am you." I don't remember sleeping that night in the motel. I sat with Mara's journal open in my lap, rereading that final line until the words bled together. I am you. It didn't feel like a threat anymore. It felt like a prophecy. I thought about calling the police. I even picked up the motel phone, dialed half the number. But then I imagined the questions, the evidence they'd ask for. Screenshots, messages, photos, proof. All things Mara had already destroyed, twisted or planted against me. What if they believed her? What if they thought I was the one stalking her? I hung up. Instead, I started writing. Page after page in a cheap spiral notebook I bought from a corner store. Everything she'd done. Every lie, every invasion. My handwriting grew frantic, jagged, as if by putting it on paper I could pin her down. By morning, I had 40 pages of confession. Not mine, hers. Written through my eyes, my pain, my truth. But the second I stepped out of the motel lobby, I saw her, standing across the street, smiling. She didn't move, didn't wave. Just watched me with that calm, certain expression that said, "I know where you are. I always will." I ran. I didn't stop until I reached campus. My chest burned, my legs trembled, but I didn't care. I went straight to the counseling center. Shoved the notebook at my counselor with shaking hands. "She's everywhere," I gasped. "She's following me. She's trying to erase me. Please, you have to help." The counselor flipped through the pages, her brow furrowing. "This is serious," she murmured. "We may need to involve the administration. Possibly even law enforcement." Finally, someone was taking me seriously. But when the dean called me in that afternoon, Mara was already there. She sat across from me in the office, her eyes wide, red-rimmed as if she'd been crying. A tissue crumpled in her hand. "She's been unstable for months," Mara whispered, her voice breaking. "I tried to help, but she keeps accusing me of things I haven't done. I'm scared of her." The dean turned to me, his expression heavy. "She's shown us concerning messages, threats, explicit photos. We can't ignore this." My stomach dropped. "Those aren't mine. She made them up, she." "Enough," he cut me off. I looked at Mara, at the way she kept her eyes down, her shoulders hunched like she was the victim, like she was fragile. And I realized she'd won again. The dean recommended a leave of absence, said it would be best for my mental health, gave me pamphlets for treatment centers. Mara walked out of the office beside me, quiet until we were alone. Then she leaned in, her lips brushing my ear. "See? They'll always believe me." I wanted to hit her, to scream, to break something just to feel like I still existed. But I did nothing. Because she was right. I packed up my dorm that night, numb. Students whispered as I passed, their eyes heavy with judgment, pity, disgust. When I reached the parking lot, Mara was leaning against my car. "You don't have to leave," she said softly. "Stay. Let me take care of you. Stop fighting me. Why are you doing this?" My voice cracked. Her smile was small, almost tender. "Because you're mine. And if I can't have you, no one can." I drove away without answering. For weeks, I stayed with my aunt in another city. She didn't ask many questions, just let me sleep and eat and stare blankly at the ceiling. It felt like breathing again for the first time in months. But Mara wasn't done. One night, my aunt called me into the living room, holding her phone. "Sweetheart, your friend Mara messaged me. She said she's worried about you. She sent me screenshots of things you've been posting online." My blood ran cold. "What things?" She handed me the phone, and there it was, an Instagram account under my name, my photo, full of dark, desperate posts. threats of self-harm, messages begging Daniel to take me back, explicit content I never created, and thousands of people had already seen it. I felt the walls close in. No matter how far I ran, Mara was already there. That night, I sat in my aunt's guest room, staring at the glowing screen, scrolling through post after post of my life rewritten. My aunt's muffled voice floated through the door, asking if I was okay. But I wasn't, because for the first time I wondered if Mara was right. What if I didn't exist anymore? What if all that was left of me was her version? I stopped leaving the house. Days blurred into nights. The curtains stayed drawn. My phone turned face down on the desk, vibrating with notifications I couldn't bear to check. Every time I thought about opening those posts again, my chest tightened until I could barely breathe. Mara was everywhere. On the screens, in the whispers, in the shadows of my dreams. My aunt tried to help meals left outside my door. Gentle knocks, soft words I couldn't hear. But I was sinking until the night the phone rang. Not mine, my aunt's. I heard her pick up in the kitchen, her muffled voice drifting down the hallway. Then silence. And then her footsteps, rushing. She burst into my room, eyes wide, pale. The hospital called. They said you were admitted after an overdose. I blinked. What? She shoved the phone toward me, trembling. They said you're there. Right now. In ICU. My stomach dropped. It was Mara. I snatched the phone. Demanded the hospital confirm the name. The details. And there it was, my name, my birth date, my information. Someone had checked in under me. I didn't even have to guess who. That was her final move. Not just replacing me online. Not just with friends, professors, Daniel, family. But in the real world. She wanted to become me so completely that I'd vanish, even on paper. I don't remember the drive to the hospital. Just the white blur of headlights, my aunt's voice a faint buzz beside me. When we arrived, the receptionist looked up, startled. You wait. You're already checked in. No, I snapped. That's not me. Where is she? The nurse hesitated, then led us through the sterile halls to a room. My pulse thundered so loud it drowned everything else out. And there she was, Mara, lying in the bed. Wires taped to her skin, monitors beeping steadily. But when her eyes flicked open, they landed on me with a calm, satisfied smile. See? She whispered hoarsely. I told you. I am you. I lunged, but my aunt held me back. Security rushed in, voices overlapping, confusion flooding the room. Mara didn't resist. She just watched me with that terrifying serenity, like she'd already won. I shouted, explained, begged them to listen. But to everyone else, it looked like I was attacking a fragile girl recovering from an overdose. They led me out. My aunt too. Nurses whispered. Doctors frowned. And Mara's smile followed me all the way down the hallway. That night, back at my aunt's, I broke. The weight of it all crushed me. Every move I'd made, she'd countered. Every truth I'd tried to tell, she'd twisted. And now she'd gone further, stepping into my skin, my name, my medical records. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror until the face blurred. Until I didn't recognize myself anymore. Her words echoed in my head. I am you. I don't know how long I stood there, shaking, gripping the sink until my knuckles whitened. But in that moment, something inside me shifted. If she wanted to erase me, then I had only one choice. I had to erase her first. The thought terrified me. But it was the only path left. Evidence hadn't worked. Reason hadn't worked. Running hadn't worked. It had to end. One of us had to disappear. And for the first time in months, I knew it wouldn't be me. The plan didn't come all at once. It built slowly, piece by piece, like a puzzle snapping together in my mind. I started by watching her patterns. Hospitals keep visitors lists, and I knew Mara wouldn't stay put for long. She'd slip out, weaving herself deeper into my world, wearing my face in places I hadn't even thought to look. So I followed her, not openly, from a distance. Hood pulled low, phone camera recording every move. I tracked her leaving the hospital, slipping into my classes as if she belonged, laughing with people who hadn't spoken to me in months. I watched her buy coffee under my name, smile at the barista like it was the most natural thing in the world. And I kept the camera rolling, every second of it. This time, I didn't store it on a phone she could smash. I uploaded it directly, account after account, clouds she didn't know existed, sending copies to my counselor, to my aunt, even to myself under hidden aliases. Every step she took in my skin, I captured. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. I walked into class early, determined to reclaim at least one piece of my life. And there she was, sitting in my seat. My clothes, my handwriting scrawled across the notebook on her desk. Students were clustered around her, laughing, nodding, hanging on her every word, as if I had already been replaced. Something inside me snapped. I marched straight up to her, slammed my bag onto the desk. The room went silent. "That's my seat," I said. Mara looked up slowly, her smile lazy, practiced. "No," she murmured. "It's mine." I pulled out my phone, hit play. The screen lit up with footage of her wearing my clothes, forging my notes, checking into the hospital under my name. Gasps rippled through the classroom. Her smile faltered. For the first time I saw it. A crack in her perfect mask. Students glanced between us, confused, unsettled. One whispered, "Wait, that's her." Mara stood, reaching for my phone, but I stepped back. "No more," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "Everyone sees you now." The professor arrived mid-chaos, demanding explanations. I handed over the footage, my chest heaving. Mara tried to laugh it off, twisting her words, her charm. But the evidence was undeniable. The tide had shifted. Campus security escorted her out. Students whispered in clusters. And for the first time in months, I felt something like air in my lungs again. But it didn't end there. Mara was reported, investigated. My counselor and my aunt stood by me, helping me piece the wreckage back together. Some believed me, some didn't. The damage she'd done couldn't be erased entirely. Daniel never came back. Professors still looked at me with a trace of doubt. My family carried scars of suspicion. But Mara was gone. The last time I saw her was at the hearing. She sat across from me, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her expression unreadable. But when our eyes met, she smiled soft, private, just for me, as if to say, "This isn't over." Even now, I feel her shadow sometimes. When I open my laptop, when I hear laughter in the next room, when I catch my reflection at the wrong angle and, for a second, don't recognize myself. But she didn't erase me. She tried. She took everything she could, my voice, my face, my life. And still, I'm here. Survival changes you. It hardens you. It strips you down to the raw edges of who you are. And that was the day I stopped being afraid of Mara, because I finally understood something she never did. She could copy me. She could mimic me. She could try to live as me, but she could never be me. That's mine.